Hi, I'm JD, and in these next few videos, I want to talk about gear, things I'm going to take on my solo backpacking trip to Algonquin. So when you're getting your gear, some things to think about is like rain. It always rains in Algonquin when I go, like lots. So you have to keep that in mind. But the most important thing I would say is weight. When you're thinking about your gear, you don't want it to be heavy. Okay, so if you load everything into your backpack, you put it on, and you say, "Oh yeah, that's not too bad." So that is not what you want to think about, because when you go on trail and you're walking for an hour, 2 hours, more, then that pack that's like 40 pounds or whatever is it's going to be really heavy. And that could be the difference between having a trip that you enjoy or just having a trip that's a chore to get from place to place. So as a general guide, I try to aim for under 25% or aim for 25% of my body weight. I do kind of struggle sometimes with that, to get things light enough and, decide like, what do I really need? But yeah, you really want to look at how much weight are things, do I really need it? How much joy would this give me, on the trip? Is it really worth the wait to carry it all those kilometers? A lot of people, they think like, oh, what if this happens or what if that happens? I need another, set of this and an extra one of those. And a lot of times you don't need it. A lot of it comes with experience, but yeah, generally try to get down, to at least as low as 25%. Okay, so it then therefore is helpful to have a scale, so like a bathroom scale. You can put things on, or you weigh yourself, and then you get on and you measure the difference. Okay. Right now I don't have one of those, but I do have a couple things. So this is a scale that I use sometimes, and hang things from it and measure. It has an adjustment on the back. It's not great because I'm always fiddling, I find, to get it to 0 before I measure something. And then I measure a few times just to kind of make sure that what I read is how much things weigh. But yeah, sometimes I do use that for larger items. This I use for cooking, and it measures in grams, and there's kilograms. So this has been very helpful to measure individual items, right? And to decide, like, for example, my pots, do I take this pot or that pot? Really, how much is one way versus the other? So that has been very helpful. Okay. At the end of these videos, I'm going to make a few parts for gear, but I'll show you a list and some of the measurements that I have for these things. Okay. So in this video, I thought I would kind of talk about things sort of on trail. So first is my pack, and this is my pack, and it's way too big. It's too big. Yeah. It's Arc'teryx, so it's very nice, actually. I've used it many times. It's served me very well. It's an Arc'teryx, very nice. Like I said, it says Bora 80. So this is supposed to hold 80 liters, okay? And I've been thinking last year, it's like, why did I get such a big pack? But I realized I bought this maybe 30 years ago, and I was tree planting every summer, and I basically lived out of my tent for most of the summer. So I had to carry like work boots and, a tent and a big sleeping bag because it got below freezing at night, and like all my gear, everything. And we had to be able to move from camp to camp. So you kind of need to be mobile. So if I could hold most of my things on my back, like, yeah, that would help. Sometimes you have to walk to camp and stuff, walk in. So Arc'teryx, the company, they spend a lot of time on their harness, like the carrying part, system, and so it's quite good. Like, it has a really thick waist pad, and so this goes around your waist, because when you're wearing a pack, most of the weight should be on your hips, okay, not your shoulders. Like maybe 70-80% of your weight is on your hips, and like 20% is on your shoulders, just to prevent your back from falling off your back. So this was very good. It's very comfortable. This is almost a little bit too big for me. I have to cinch it up all the way, but I'm able to get good, good and snug around my waist. It's got a little wear on it, you can tell. These are the shoulder straps. Okay, so this is the front, right? There's a sternum buckle at the front. Okay, and that helps prevent the shoulder straps from falling off. You know, it feels like they're going to fall off your shoulders, so that makes it more comfortable. This one, the elastic's gone. Like I got this bag 30 years ago, so this one, I have to kind of tighten up that elastic. It has then these are called load lifters. So here's the shoulder strap, and then at the top of it, and there's another strap attached to the top of the pack. So load lifters are a nice feature because when you put the backpack on, if you tighten this, what it will do is pull the weight closer to your back. Okay. My trip is to Algonquin, and I'm going to be on trails, so that is not as critical. But if you're covering lots of rough terrain or having to climb over rocks and everything, if your heavy pack is like shifting on your back and forth, it can kind of tire you out more. Whereas if it's hugged to your back and moves with you, it's a lot more comfortable. Okay. On that note, it has some compression straps, so that kind of compresses the gear sort of towards you from the back. What else? There's a couple of ways to get into the pack, so you don't always have to go through the top. Maybe that's not so critical, but it is nice to, so I guess your sleeping bag would go at the very bottom, so there's a separate way to get in. There's a zipper on the side, so I can get at my gear sideways. Okay, you just have to think about what you will need when you're on the trail and make sure that those are accessible and not buried deep in there. That's it. I guess one thing I would like, or I would use, is if there was some sort of pocket here, so I have things more accessible. But yeah, otherwise, yes, very good pack. Used it many times, but it's too heavy. Okay. I'm thinking I would maybe get a 45-liter pack if I were to buy a new one now. I had some life changes this year, so I was thinking of getting a smaller pack, but I'm going to hold off on buying a pack, I guess, till next year. I like hiking poles, so I collapse them when I'm traveling. There's got cardboard on here because I don't want to puncture anything in storage. So I like poles. Not everyone uses poles. Some people just use one. Some people just pick up a stick on the trail and use that. So that would be a good idea, because then you don't have to buy a pole and carry it around with you. You just use a stick when you're out there. But it's very helpful. So yeah, sometimes I get tired when I'm hiking and I start to stumble and okay, yeah, I have to take a break. And so I take a break. But when I'm going over rough terrain, or when I'm starting to tire out, it's helpful to have poles and to kind of keep your balance. Even if I'm not tired, I might trip over a rock or something, but I have these to help catch my balance, right? And you have a heavy pack, so your balance might be off a little bit, but yeah, I like these. Also, you can distribute the work, right? So it's not just your legs moving you through the forest. You got your arms to help push you along. And also, when you go downhill, that can be very hard on your knees. And so, especially if you have problems with your knees, if you have poles, you can kind of use your upper body to unload your knees as you go downhill. The eccentric loading. Okay, uphill tires, downhill destroys, is a saying that they have. So this is collapsible. So you can open these up and you can adjust the length. So what I do is when I'm standing, I hold on to the handle to where my forearm is horizontal, my arm is 90 degrees, and then that's the length that I'm going to choose, and I cinch these up. Okay, make sure they're both the same length. Okay, and so that's how I determine how long. This brings up a good point, that all my gear, everything, most of it I've had for a while, and I know how to use it, but everything, every year I take it all out and I test it all before I go. Okay, so you wouldn't want to go on trail and realize, for example, this doesn't hold your weight, because then it's useless. You have to pack everything out, so you'd have to carry a useless piece of equipment on the whole trail, and then throw it out when you got back home. So test everything, take everything apart, check, make sure it works. Okay. I guess also on here I have duct tape wrapped around here, so useful for patches, quick patches. If your tent ripped, then yeah, if my tent ripped, I would use duct tape and kind of patch it up. So I don't want to carry the big roll, so I carry a good bunch on here, and so when I need to, I'll peel it off. But yeah, trekking poles. Okay. I guess clothing is the next thing I'll talk about. So number one, I don't wear hiking boots. Okay. These I wore last year. I got to think about the tread is kind of going, but I like this tread. Like it's got good tread on it. It's soft rubber, so it wears out faster. But if it's softer, you kind of grip better. Okay. Many years ago, I was reading a book on backpacking, and that author said he doesn't wear hiking boots. He wears running shoes. And so when I read that, I've kind of gone with running shoes ever since. Okay. As I mentioned, my trip is on a path for the most part. So if I were to take heavy hiking boots, yeah, it would just tire you out faster. Okay. I don't have problems with my ankles or my feet or my knees, so I'm lucky that way. So I don't really need like extra support on my ankles. So yeah, running shoes have been very good for me. I'm kind of lucky I don't get blisters. But yeah, if you're going to get shoes, wear them. Don't buy new shoes or new boots and take them and use them for the first time on your trip. Wear them around. Make sure you don't get blisters. Okay, you don't want blisters on trail. Like 2 pairs of socks. That's it. That's all I take. I have to check the weather when I get closer to the trip, but maybe I might take a 3rd pair because it's hard to dry things if it's raining day after day. If it's raining, I still go, but I just have to plan a little differently. So 1 pair is a little thicker. I tend to wear those at night because I get cold feet. Okay. These are for running, so they're synthetic. So that's another thing you need to be aware of, is anything sort of against your skin. For sure, it needs to be a synthetic material. Okay, to help keep you warmer when you're wet. The problem with these socks is they are not very high, right? So they just go around your ankle. So I don't want mosquito bites on my ankle. So I need a longer pair, but something like this, okay, synthetic, is what I would take. Just 1 pair of pants. Last year, these are like kind of like rain pants, actually. I realized last year I wore this the whole week, like day, night. I slept in them, everything. It was very comfortable. But yeah, 1 pair of pants. Okay. I tend not to wear shorts on trail. So I tend not to take shorts, but a lot of people like shorts. So maybe 1 pair of shorts. These are swimming trunks. So you can't, Algonquin, you can't by the lake. So if you want to go into the water, maybe that's what you would take. In camp, it's nice to have something with pockets. But when you're on the trail, you don't want something in your pocket and rubbing against your thigh for 10 kilometers. Like that might irritate you. So generally I don't carry much at all in my pockets. They don't need like cargo pants necessarily. For a shirt, I need 1 short sleeve shirt. So I took this last year. It's from Mountain Equipment Co-op, and it's a synthetic material. It's light. Okay, so you want a t-shirt? I took this last year. I guess it's an inexpensive, like almost like dress shirt, but it's light. Okay, so you can cover your arms from the sun, from mosquitoes. Okay, maybe it's a thin layer, but maybe keeps you a little extra warm, like around your arms. Again, it's synthetic. I use bug repellent, but I don't tend to use sunblock. Okay, the trails in Algonquin are covered, by the trees, and I don't really like spending a lot of time in the sun. Like, yeah, I do go out in the sun, but I kind of know my limits, and not to get too burnt. Or I have a tarp. I put up a tarp, and so if I'm doing stuff, I can do it under the tarp and not be in the direct sun. I spent a lot of time, like tree planting, I spent a lot of time in the sun, so I feel like I know my limits. So I don't take a lot of sunblock. So you want to be able to cover your skin, your arms, okay? I take a hat. This is the hat I took last year. I know that if I do get sunburned, it's going to be on the back of my neck. So a hat like this, I often put it on backwards. So as I'm doing things, looking down and the sun is behind me, it covers my neck, okay? The other thing that gets burnt are my ears. So those are the things that I usually are most concerned of if I'm in the sun. But I do take a hat. It's nice to cover from bugs and not show your messy hair. This is a bug hat. So it's like a big mesh, like a hood, basically. So I'll use this. I don't use it often, or I don't use it every day. But this goes over your head. So if you're wearing your hat, and it goes over your head. So if you have to do stuff outside, or if I'm hiking and I just want to take a break, and I can set up my tent on the trail, and if there's lots of mosquitoes, then it's nice to just not have them buzzing in your face. Yeah, I'm gonna wear bug repellent, but sometimes it's nice to have the hat, okay, especially when they're swarming. The bug repellent might stop them from biting you, but they're still going to be around you in your face. So this kind of makes you feel more secure. Something thicker for warmth, okay? So as I get closer to when my trip is coming, I make more decisions about what gear finalize my gear, but something thicker to go over my 1 or 2 layers just to keep me warm. I don't know. I guess those colors clash, but something like this, just for warmth. Okay. If I need to, I'll sleep in this. Keep me warm. I usually wear a rain jacket. If it's raining and you're on the trail, you're going to get wet. So the rain jacket's not going to stop that. So I do have this. I'm not going to open it. This is a poncho. It's it looks like a plastic bag, right? So very lightweight. So not a lot of weight. But it covers, it has a hood. It covers your arms. It can cover your pack. It doesn't look stylish, but it does a lot better at keeping you dry than a raincoat. Okay. It is nice to have a raincoat if you're in camp and you're cooking your food and it's raining. So in those times, it's nice to have just to put on a jacket rather than pull this out and put it on your head. But on trail, if it's raining, I won't usually bother with anything because you're going to get wet anyways. But sometimes, yeah, maybe a poncho might be good. And if it got ripped, I have the duct tape. I'll just patch it up. It's not going to look good, but it's not going to look stylish. But yeah, this would keep me drier than a raincoat. Okay, the rain still gets everywhere. Your pack's still going to get wet. You're going to sweat. So a heavier rain jacket is going to hold all that sweat in. So you're going to get wet. Okay, so that's it for this video. Just about some of the gear that I have on trail. In the next video, I'll talk about some things that I have sort of when I'm in camp, and then maybe I'll make a third video with an actual list of gear that I take. It's not finalized. And then things like tents and sleeping. So stay tuned for the next video.